The first two classes for the Borderlands spin-off game Tiny Tina's Wonderlands have been revealed in a new trailer which showcased their abilities as well, plus we got some more information on the game's locations and a hint at a third character class from a new press release. So in this video we'll tell you all the important news plus point out some things in that new trailer that you maybe didn't catch on your first watch. If you are excited for Wonderlands and like the content here on the channel, then leaving a like would really help us out, and let's go. First of all, big thanks to 2K for sending us the trailer and the press release ahead of time, so we already had some time to prepare this video and give you some extra info. Second, don't worry, you've clicked on the right channel, but like with the previous Wonderlands video, the voiceover is being handled by a different member of the JorRaptor team. For those who don't know, hi, my name is Dennis and I've been working full-time for the channel now. I'm a huge fan of both Borderlands and D&D, so this game is right up my alley. And with all that out of the way, let's go over the exciting stuff showed in that new trailer, shall we? So the big news is of course that 2 of the 6 playable classes in the game have now been revealed in that trailer, the STABBOMANCER and the BRR-ZERKER, which comes with some frosty moves as the name kind of already suggests. From the looks of it, the STABBOMANCER, or actually the sneaky knife daddy according to the trailer, is a sneaky assassin that focuses on critical hits and high burst damage. The BRR-ZERKER on the other hand is a tough warrior who seems mostly focused on up close and melee combat, and like I already mentioned also seems to have an affinity for ice, so maybe we see that reflected in their skill tree as well. The trailer also showcased 2 active abilities for each class, and I think these might actually be the ultimate abilities that Matt Cox mentioned to Game Informer a while back. Let's cover the STABBOMANCER first, who has access to Ghost Blade and From the Shadows. Ghost Blade is an offensive AoE ability that summons a spectral knife that rotates in place, dealing damage to whatever it's hitting. While it is active, you can redirect the blade to instantly jump to a new enemy, so it's well suited for dealing constant damage to a single target or mowing through a group of enemies by relocating the blade after you get a kill. The second ability, From the Shadows, is a more familiar one, as it seems pretty similar to Flak's Fadeaway or Zero's Deception. It turns the STABBOMANCER invisible and increases your damage while being stealthed. Interesting to note here is that in the trailer the player uses stealth, then melee attacks an enemy who then instantly freezes. The player does not seem to decloak from hitting an enemy, which means that you will be able to stay cloaked and still attack. The fact that a melee hit freezes an enemy is pretty significant too, as it might be a part of the ability or a skill that modifies the ability, which is something we also saw in Borderlands 3, which would make From the Shadows an excellent crowd control tool on top of multiplying your damage. Now if all this sneaking and stabbing isn't to your taste, you'll probably like the BRR-ZERKER a lot more. The first ability the trailer shows for this class is called Feral Surge, which has you leaping towards a target and then slamming them with a giant axe that deals cold damage. The leap seems to cover quite a bit of distance, which is really nice for if you are far away from enemies but are using a close range weapon. I can already see this ability being very useful in shotgun focused builds. Just jump in, slam your axe down and finish everything left standing with a few shots from your shotgun. Yeah, I think I've just figured out how I'm going to be playing this game already. But there is a second ability as well, Dreadwind, which has you grab your axe and turns you into a tornado of ice and death. You can move while performing this ability, making it a great tool for clearing out groups. It also sticks with the icy theme for the BRR-ZERKER, as it also freezes enemies it hits, so it's a crowd control and damage tool all in one. Once again, it is a perfect fit for players who like to play up close, as it allows for an easy escape when you get overwhelmed by enemies too. And if you're already having a hard time choosing which one of these 2 to play, don't worry, as the multi-class system that will be in the game allows you to combine the best of the BRR-ZERKER and STABBOMANCER to create your build. We covered the multi-class system in depth in our previous video, which we'll link to at the end of this one, but real short, at a certain point in the game you will be able to pick a second class and invest skill points in that one too. You'll even be able to swap your second class after finishing the game, so no matter what you start out as, you can try every class in the game with just a single character. But yeah, the big question I currently have is how these abilities are going to work and if we are able to equip more than one at a time. It would be really cool if we could combine these active abilities because of multi-classing, but as of yet we do not know if this will be the case or not. Now we also saw some interesting locations in the trailer. Some we've already seen in the gameplay reveal too, but now we know a bit more about them thanks to the press release 2K sent us. This area that's marked by giant roots coming out of the ground is called the Tangle Drift, where a giant beanstalk lifted up entire chunks of earth to create a new ecosystem high above the clouds, where both people and these mushroom monsters now seem to have made their home. And if we look at this new screenshot here, we can see how the beanstalk lifted up a part of what looks like to be a church and a castle in the background as well, so should be a pretty unique area to explore. Another location shown is the Sunfang Oasis, where we can see some pirate skeletons, you know, just chilling, relaxing in a pool. It also houses ruins from civilizations long past, kind of getting Egyptian pharaoh vibes from this statue here, so I'm assuming there might be a dungeon or two hidden in those ruins for us to explore. And we got another new screenshot that shows us more of these statues, whose lower bodies are that of a snake, which has me thinking these are probably the coiled mentioned in the press release, which would add another cool entry to the already pretty diverse roster of enemies. But the cool thing is that both of these areas are completely optional. We already mentioned this in our previous video as well, but there are certain areas that offer a separate storyline from the main quest, and in a new developer diary, Matt Cox listed Tangled Drift and Sunfang Oasis as standalone maps. So that kind of already gives you an idea of the crazy environments we are going to visit when it comes to questing. And there is one particular part of this developer diary that I wanted to highlight, as I think it gives us a hint at a third character class already. When asked about his favorite spell, Matt Cox listed the Hydra spell that we also see here in the trailer, which I think is actually the first time we've seen that spell. Now, but what is interesting is that he specifically stated, "I love using companion classes, which go great with some of the different Hydra spells that let you put little tiny Hydras on the ground. Having a pet class plus a bunch of Hydras active via spells is pretty fun." Now we know he isn't talking about the STABBOMANCER or BRR-ZERKER for sure, as neither of those seem to have pet abilities, so I think this means that one of the unrevealed classes is going to be some sort of summoner class. Pet classes were never really a thing until Borderlands 3, where we had Flag with his Beastmaster tree and later on Moze with Iron Cup, but now we can have a pet ability and use summon spells to summon Hydras according to Matt. So I'm really curious how crazy that class is going to be then. It sounds awesome. And that is all the new info we have for now, but once we learn more about those 4 unrevealed classes, we will of course let you know here. So subscribe to stay up to date on everything Wonderlands. And if you want, you can watch our previous Wonderlands video where we go in depth on some of the game's mechanics with info we got from interviews with the developers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Goodbye!